On this episode of Winning the Moment, we have a Markus Kaulius, and he helps high achievers find fulfillment beyond career success. It was truly just an incredible conversation. He has had the opportunity to work with people like Ed Milet and Tony Robbins, and you can feel it. You can feel his energy through the screen. You're going to absolutely love this episode. I can't wait to share it. Wherever you are and however you are listening, thank you for being back with us on another episode of Winning the Moment. Today, we have Markus Kaulius with us, and this is an exciting podcast for me because Markus and I just connected about 3 days ago. So I am on the journey with you guys to figure out Markus's story. So Markus, thanks for being here.
Cody, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here, excited to spend this time with you.
So what's funny is usually I've got about like a 2-month delay before I can have a guest on. And Nick from Book Thinker is a good friend of mine. His episode actually comes out next week to talk about his brand new book, Rise of the Reader. And he connected Markus and I, and my wife was scheduled to be on the podcast today. She really doesn't want to do it, but I want her to. And so she couldn't have been happier to have an opportunity to not be on. And so that created the opportunity for you to be here today. And I'm a big believer in the universe. And so this was the universe's plan, was for you to come on here and talk about some exciting things you've got going on, like your new book, Play a Bigger Game, and a new business that you've got dropping. But since I don't really know you, let's just start with a little bit of a backstory, start wherever it makes sense for you. But tell myself and my listeners, who's Markus?
For sure. But first of all, I got to say, I love this. I've been married 19 years as well. I love that we now have a special bond.
Yeah.
When someone can step in and help you with let's call it a situation with your wife. I mean, that's a special yes. bond right there. So very happy I could.
Yeah. And Meg and I have been together for 17 years. So we're right there with you.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. So Markus Kaulius, very humble beginnings. We grew up quite poor. Came from a broken family. That messed me up good. Helps me bond with other men who didn't have a father in their lives. Growing up poor, that was tough times. And I learned a lot about money during that times. And mostly having no money really sucks. And seeing people with money seemingly happier, but at the very least, they weren't as sad and unhappy as we were. So I developed a work ethic, and I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. I've been very blessed to have some amazing businesses. My biggest business that I took from 0 to 170 million in global sales.
Wow.
I got to sell it this year. So this has been absolutely amazing. It's very fresh and raw, but it felt amazing. And then God's been calling me to my next business, which starts in January. And I'm just so psyched about it because it's just a business that's just pure love. And it's what I've been working towards my whole life.
And so what, a couple of questions there. So that one, you grew from 0 to 170 million. What business was that? Or what? I don't know if you can maybe share it because you sold it, but what can you share?
Yeah, no, of course. No, still happy to talk about it. It was called Magnum Nutraceuticals. It was a sports nutrition company.
Okay.
I've been in the fitness industry for 25 years. I love it, health and fitness. I have so much mercy for people who struggle with their weight, who feel like they don't have control over that stuff. And it was an honor and a pleasure, and it still is, to help people achieve their goals.
Yeah.
When it comes to fitness and health and just living a happier and healthier life.
And did you, when you were growing up poor, was that in Vancouver, or where did you grow up at?
Yeah, just outside of Vancouver. It's called Richmond, British Columbia. But
okay.
So I'm still here. I'm in South Surrey, British Columbia. Haven't moved far. Met my wife here, and she has no intention of leaving this area. So this is where we're staying.
Okay. I'm always curious, as a serial entrepreneur, what was your first business you ever started?
Oh, awesome. I'm sure there was something before this. This was my first real business.
Yeah.
My brother and I had a smoothie company. And we brought in smoothies. It was actually called Dr. Smoothie, which I freaking love that name still. We brought in smoothies from the US and we sold them here into Western Canada. I learned so much from that. And then my first personal and real business, I was selling sports nutrition supplements out of my bedroom. And it was awesome. I had $15,000 of supplements, every penny I had earned to that point in my life, in supplements on my wall. and buddies would come by and at all hours of the day and night, and they'd pick up their supplements from me. I was a healthy drug dealer for quite a few years.
So did you run that like as like just like your bedroom was like a retail space, or did you also have an online presence at that time?
Oh, don't forget, we're talking 25 years ago. This,
okay, that's what I thought.
Internet thing you're talking about, dude, that was still.
That's amazing. So another question is, why did you have to import smoothies from the United States? Are smoothies not a thing in Canada? Like why were they imported in?
That's a very good question. These guys were just really good. I mean, they were called Dr. Smoothie. I mean, they're the freaking doctors. I mean, you don't mess with that stuff. You got to go to school for years to get that title. They were just that good. And so we just decided to do the distribution model, and they had great marketing. They had a cool little doctor with a smoothie in his hand and a stethoscope. It was cool.
So was it kind of like a franchise then type deal?
Distribution.
Okay.
So I mean, we signed a deal for Western Canada. Like we had the rights to it.
Yeah. Okay. So then let's talk about, scaling from 0 to 170 million. What are some of the best like takeaways or tidbits that you can share from that experience? And also maybe some of the struggles, like what was the hardest part of it?
Oof, great questions. Couple of my tidbits, my favorite lessons to have learned and what I'd love to pass on to the people coming up, maybe in that spot, just growing. Number one, be authentic and stay true to yourself. I know those seem like just kind of big words or big concepts, but the more I dedicated and focused on my own integrity, my own authenticity, it made such a difference in my business.
Yeah.
Who you are is people are buying into. That's what they want to see. We think that the world wants us to be this or that. And so we make changes to our core selves. And then we wonder why things don't go well. I really love to encourage people. You've been put on this planet to be authentically you. This world needs you exactly who you are. And the more you act like that, the more the world's actually going to gift you and send you the people who are supposed to be in your life, and the business partners and the business associates and the clients. But if you're not on your proper alignment, your proper path in your integrity, you don't know what you're going to get, and you won't know how to act and deal with it. So the more you can act as yourself and be authentic, the greater the business is going to grow.
I love that message because it's so true. And we've talked about this podcast, about this on this podcast and other episodes, but it sometimes can be so hard to be your authentic self because it's hard to even understand who you are because there are all these outside forces. And so part of who you are is a collection of all these things you've seen. And then it's almost hard to keep track of like, well, what was authentically me and what was something that I took from a Markus because he was so great and I wanted to be that way. So do you have any tips for the listeners as to how to really discover your authentic self?
Oh, that's beautiful, man. Yeah. And by the way, thank you. Be intentional with discovering who you are. Spend some time with yourself. Spend some time alone with yourself and do growth work. Take courses. I can't encourage that enough. The more I spend on myself and in growth work, taking courses, learning how to learn, the greater my life becomes. And shocker, the more success is drawn to me. To give you an idea, in the last 12 months, I spent over $250,000 on personal growth.
Wow. Well, I saw you the picture.
Last 12 months, these have been the greatest 12 months of my life.
Well, I mean, when you invest in yourself at that level, how are you not going to have a positive outcome? You know what I mean?
I love that you said that because that's the truth. This is what people don't believe, that it is a simple equation. 1 + 1 will always equal 2. If you're doing this and you're learning this and you're putting it into action, you will succeed. Like it's a proven concept, but most people don't want to start down that path. It's like, I'd hate to invest money or time and then fail. And it's like, okay, but how much are you failing right now without doing those things?
Well, and all that means is you don't believe in yourself, right? Because what you're saying is, I don't want to invest that time because I don't want to fail, which means that you inherently think that you are a failure because what you know is whoever's selling you that service, obviously they themselves have been successful in helping other people be successful. So you're then saying to yourself, I'm the outlier and I will be the one who doesn't succeed. So I think it starts with self-discovery as to why you believe that about yourself. And you've got to fix that first, because if you have self-doubt or a lack of belief in yourself, it's going to be really challenging for you to find what you're looking for.
You're so right. And, you know, I think there's one other big thing that comes into play here is that we have this fear. It's a human nature thing. So I have so much mercy on everybody. If you're listening and this is going to touch you, just know that you're not alone in this situation. There's a human nature fear of putting in 100% into anything, because putting in 100% means, oh, man, I'm being so vulnerable. You're going to get to see me. You know, I'm opening the kimono here. And it's such a level of vulnerability that so many people are uncomfortable with. And if I fail giving 100%, oh my goodness, my whole life will shatter. Giving 80%, at least I'm reserving some of it. And I can say, oh, well, I didn't go all the way. So, you know, you're not really rejecting me. I'm still... Put in all your chips, everybody. Go 100% into something. At the very least, you're going to learn a ton. You're not guaranteed success, but you're guaranteed to learn and you're guaranteed to grow.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's funny. So at our office, at our company, Vibrant Management, one of our core values is having fun. And so yesterday we were playing ping pong. And so like the two games that we really have that we play are ping pong and NFL Blitz. And I was playing ping pong with Leah yesterday, and I was like, you know why I think I like playing NFL Blitz more is because if I lose at ping pong, it's 100% my fault. Like, there's no reason that I lost other than I didn't do well enough. But if I lose the NFL Blitz, I can always say, like, well, the algorithm of the game or the technology, like, I played great, but that's why I lost, you know? And it's that same psychological component that you're talking about, that when you do bet on yourself, or you go all in, it's so much scarier because you don't have anything to fall back on. But to your point, and really this is the sentiment is carried through my book, is that when we, and I'm going to use quotations, lose, that's when we learn. So even though it might feel like we've lost, we're more educated for that next decision. And life is always going to move forward. It's not like any business venture that we have or anything that we're striving for that we fail. It's not like it's a video game and your life is over. It's just now you're ready for that next step with education that you didn't have prior.
Well said, brother. And by the way, I love that you focus on fun with your business. I think that's a beautiful way to create culture. It's the way I've always done it with my businesses. I'd love to show it to you, but see this wall right here?
Yeah.
That's actually a fake door that leads to a slide that slides down into the warehouse.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. So you spent $250,000 in personal growth development. I did see when I was doing some research for this with you that you had the opportunity to meet Tony Robbins. So I'm guessing that you went to one of his events. Is that right?
I'm actually, yeah. So yes, I'm part of Tony's Platinum.
Okay.
So it's a closer group. It's a tighter knit group. And we get to do a lot more work with Tony. Tony's a game changer. If you guys aren't following Tony yet, spend some time. There's only two types of people that I meet in this world. There's the type of people who absolutely are addicted and love Tony, and the people who have never spent a minute thinking or looking at Tony, but have heard, oh, isn't he just some motivational guy? And isn't it a cult? And it's like, okay, but I'm telling you, everyone in this first category finds great success because of the stuff that he teaches.
Absolutely. And so the question is, at what point did you start investing in that personal development and growth for yourself?
That's a great question. I've been doing it for many years, let's say 20 years, but it was a sliding scale up. And the more time I spend in personal growth, and by the way, everybody, it isn't just about investing money. How about the time to read books and listen to great podcasts like this one? This is investing in yourself. And that's the kind of growth that we're talking about. But there's one key differentiator that I want to talk about, and it's the consumption versus consumption and then taking action. Without the action, all the consumption is worthless. You have to put this stuff into practice. And it can be as easy as just learning something on this podcast right now, or learning something by reading a few pages of a book, and then putting it into action immediately. See how it feels. Does it work? I'm telling you, it does. It gets you ahead. You will learn something about yourself. You will grow. And it's all about being a better person tomorrow than I was today. And if you can keep focusing on that, you'll be amazed at how far you get in 6 months, in a year, in 10 years.
Yeah, I love that, because obviously some people listening, it's not realistic for them in this particular part of their life to invest $250,000 in growth, but they can invest $20. And that's what I always tell people, like, there's all these amazing minds that have put their thoughts and beliefs on paper, and that's accessible to you for $20 or less, And so it's like if someone said, what would you pay for 5 hours with Steve Jobs? That number would be astronomical, but yet that is exactly what his book is. And you can get it for $20. And so I think that for people listening who have that sticker shock to that number, know that's not where you have to start. You can start with a book that's $20 or a podcast that's free. And I think to your point of taking action, there's so many books I've read that I haven't ever implemented. And so obviously I don't get as much out of them, but Nick, who connected us, his book that just came out, Rise of the Reader, it really is the technical skills of how to take, because he's read like over 500 books or some crazy number, right? And so he realized, like, how can I help people take this information and make something good out of it? And so that's what his book, Rise of the Reader, is all about, is how do you take that information from a book and start? But what's interesting is it's 2 weeks in a row now that the person I've had on the podcast is passionately spoken about investing in their personal growth, and that there's never been a time that you or his name was Eric, who have done that and not seen a positive return.
Yes. And you know what? Right now is the greatest and easiest time in human history to set yourself apart. I don't think anybody really wants to argue that the average human being's investment into this planet is dropping like crazy. We're getting lazier. We're getting sloppier. If you do just this bit of extra effort, the little bit of growth, reading a book, listening to podcasts, doing something about it, you immediately start setting yourself apart from the rest of the world. And all of a sudden people recognize, whoa, hey, look who's starting to dress better. Look who's starting to come up with great ideas. And employers are going to take notice. Clients are going to take notice. You can start changing your life radically today. It's not as big of a thing as you think it is. It just gets started with it now.
What's funny is at the end of my book, so my book, Winning the Moment, I talk about all these things, all these chapters, and then at the end of it, I'm working with my ghostwriter. He's like, well, what do they do now? It's like, what's the reader do? And I was like, well, that's the kind of the shitty part, is all they can do is start. Like, there's not this magic elixir or this like crazy formula that they have to do in order to now implement these things. It is as easy as starting. And I think that the reason that people struggle with that direction is that they don't want it. They don't want to believe it's that easy, because if it is, they have no reason not to do it. So they'd rather it be this complicated equation of like, well, I would do it. It's just that this, that, and the other thing make it so I can't. But when you say it's as simple as starting, then you've eliminated any reason to not do it. And that for some people can be really intimidating.
Brother, I completely agree. And I think I'd add to it that if you admit that it's that easy, well, then it's like, oh man, then I have to admit that I've been screwing up for the last 20 years because I should have started back then. So it can't be that easy. I'll just keep going on the same path.
Right.
Let's not worry about that. Let's not think about the guilt or anything like that. We can get into that guilt conversation another time, but I have no time for guilt. Guilt is not a thing for me. Just say, what can I do today? Let's just start today. I'm going to be a better person starting today. And you will be. It's a choice.
And I think for the listeners, just to know that it seems like the future is forever away. And so sometimes I think that can stop us from starting, because you look at whatever that goal or whatever that initiative is that you're after, and the horizon seems so far down the road. It's like, well, I'll just start next Monday. Or really, I should start at the beginning of the year. I'm going to wait till after the holidays. And so we just keep kicking that can. But the beginning of the year is 75 days away right now. So it's like, imagine what you could do in 75 days if you started right now. I mean, look at 75 Hard. Look at the transformation someone could have in their body and their life by doing that program. And you could do that now and start the new year already at a better version of yourself, right?
So I love that. I love seeing it that way. And by the way, Ed Milet, one of my mentors and friends, I love the way he puts it. He says we have a depth perception problem. And we see that finish line so far away. And when we do that, you walk, you jog, you stop, you smell the roses. But if you kept looking at the finish line is right there, think of how much energy you have for it. And you're like, no, I'm going to get this done. So I go. So I like to think about it like every day, my finish line is right in front of me. So today I'm sprinting. I'm sprinting towards tomorrow. What can I do before tomorrow? Because the end is right there. So I got to put everything into it. And if you have that kind of mentality, you're going to start building these amazing habits that support that. And all of a sudden tomorrow, you're going to go, hey, this is actually easier than it was yesterday. And the next day will be even easier, but you have to start today.
I love that. So you're obviously not familiar yet with my book, but in the book, Winning the Moment, the idea is that let's not worry about these big, huge goals that are so far ahead of us and instead just focus really on the present moment. Because oftentimes you can rationalize like, oh, well, this Snickers doesn't matter because like, is it really going to change my life a year from now? And the answer, of course, is no, unless you make that same decision repeatedly over and over and over again. And so I've got these bracelets. And so all I'm trying to do is make 10 good decisions throughout the day, because those little decisions, that's how I'm sprinting. And so it could be as little as like when my alarm goes off, I'm getting right up versus hitting snooze, right? And so then that creates that little momentum that I have and gives me that dopamine hit that maybe, or not having a drink tonight, instead of pouring that glass of whiskey, I move over a bracelet and now I've got this dopamine hit that the whiskey was going to give me anyways, but I know I'm progressing towards whatever my goal is. And it also allows you the opportunity to fail and not be perfect, because I'm not going to win every day and I'm not going to win every moment. But it's so much easier to decide. I mean, that's why AA works, right? They're not saying I'm not going to drink for the rest of my life. They're just saying I'm not going to drink today. In fact, Ed Milet's dad was an alcoholic, and Ed's dad said, I'm not going to drink today. And I think that's what his new book is, One Day or One, right? It's on that premise of like, I'm going to do this.
Right. It's the power of one more.
And that's what it is. Yeah.
I just have to worry about today.
Yep.
Let's not worry about tomorrow. Just today. What can I do? By the way, I love the title of your book.
Thank you.
And the podcast too. I think that's beautiful. And talking about the snooze button, I'd love to just highlight that for a second.
Let's do it.
I love talking about that snooze button as your first challenge with your integrity every day.
Yeah.
And for anybody who uses that snooze button, I'm not coming down on you, but let's make a real effort to stop ever touching it. Because here's what happens. Your first decision of the day, your integrity has told you this is what time I'm supposed to wake up. And boom, you hit that snooze button and you've broken your integrity right from the get-go. And that's really hard to recover from, that you started the day going, man, I don't know if I am a guy of integrity. I said I was going to wake up at 6 a.m. and now it's 6:10. So reframe it and look at it as your opportunity to go, hey, I'm going to keep that promise to myself. I'm going to keep my integrity in check. Bang, that alarm goes off and I'm up. And that's a great way to start the day. And now you can reflect on that all day. Hey, I know I'm a guy of integrity. Remember what happened at 6 a.m.? There was no 6:10. It was 6 a.m. I was up and at 'em. And now I can go through and get through this day and kill it.
Yeah, because you've already given yourself grace to be a failure, right? You've already said to yourself subconsciously, like, it's okay if I don't do what I say I'm going to do. And even once you hit that, once you've given yourself the one snooze, oftentimes that can lead to 4 or 5, because it's like, well, I already kind of shit the bed, so what does it really matter, right? And then now we've already like given ourselves that permission throughout the day of like, well, I got started late, so now I'm not going to exercise because like I lost that window. And so now I guess I'll have a shitty lunch because I didn't exercise anyways. And it just progresses and can snowball into this huge thing. And I like to say that, you know, we're so good as humans of showing up for other people, right? Like if Marcus, if you wanted me to go to the gym with you this morning and you said you're going to be there at 7, well, I will also be there at 7. But if you text me at 6:30 and say like, hey, I pulled my back, I can't go. Well, neither am I. And so I had to write this book because I had to figure out how to fix it for myself. Because the problem was I could always show up for other people, especially in my professional career. Like if a boss said, do this, do that, or here's the thing that needs to be accomplished, there was no way I was ever going to not do it because that's what was expected of me by someone else. The problem was I could never do it for myself. Like I know what good habits look like. I know how to have an independently successful life. However, I wouldn't follow through with it because the only one judging me was me. And for whatever reason, it wasn't enough of a reason to get started and do the things I knew I needed to do. And that's ultimately, it started with a spreadsheet where I said, okay, I'm just going to track all the things that matter to me. And I did that in 2019. I lost like 40 pounds. I had this incredible shift in my life. And in 2020, in January, I wrote an article on LinkedIn that basically shared like, hey, I've always succeeded professionally, but I've always failed personally. Here's what I used. Here's what I did. If any of you are interested, I'll send you the spreadsheet for free. And I had on LinkedIn, I'll get like 4 or 5 likes, right? So that it's like no one's really paying attention to what I'm saying. But this one particular thing went like wildflower all over the world. unbelievable amount of likes and comments. I think I created over like 500 of those spreadsheets for people. And at this point, it wasn't a concept. It wasn't an idea of a book. It was literally just me saying, well, here's a bunch of professionals who may also have this same issue that I have. And it was unbelievable to see how many people connected and resonated with that. And then it was through COVID that my behavior started getting worse because I allowed myself to rationalize, well, like everything sucks, so I don't have to be good anymore. And I lost all of that momentum. And it was like, gosh, how can I right this ship? And that's when I realized that I was trying to make too big of decisions. And then it felt like, well, if I said I'm going to work out every day for 30 days and I miss one, then I'm not going to work out the other 29 because they already failed. And so I needed to give myself the grace to fail, but know tomorrow I had to restart and be committed to myself.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, so good. And congratulations. I love that. That's beautiful leadership to get ahead of it like that and to do it on yourself. That's beautiful. And I got this principle that I live by and that I try and encourage others with as well. Not taking care of ourselves, which I totally agree with you, by the way. It's so easy when it's for someone else, when someone else is watching, when someone else is dictating. But if we don't take care of ourselves on our own, we're being extremely selfish.
Absolutely.
Extremely selfish. Why? Because if you aren't taking care of your health, taking care of your body, taking care of your needs, taking care of your mind, you aren't showing up every day to the people who care about you the most. You're not showing up the way you should be showing up. You can't be the father you should be, the husband you should be, because you're not taking care of yourself. You've got too much going on inside that needs work, but you're not putting in that work. And therefore you show up the wrong way. Plus, we need you in this world to show up your best self. The world is depending on you, counting on you. Please don't see that as pressure, but we've been gifted with only one of you. And if you aren't showing up your best self, man, the world is missing out. So,
well, and that's what's so funny. We show up for all these other people and neglect ourselves, but then the people we are showing up for is not the best version of us. So we're less capable of showing up for them than we would be if we took care of ourselves first.
Yes. Yes. And, this is kind of my sort of next level thinking is you're now not attracting into your life the people you should be attracting in and repelling the people you should be repelling. And what happens is you end up being in pools that you shouldn't be in.
Absolutely. I'll tell you a funny story. So my first real business, I had many of them, as like a kid. Like my first business ever was the all night midnight bar when I was in second grade. In my unfinished basement, I made like a little retail shop where I sold all my toys and I sold my friends sandwiches and sodas. And why I called it the all night midnight bar, I don't know. But I remember the first day I made like $20 and some change. And I had such a misconception of like my confidence that my dad's friend owned a real bar in town. And I remember thinking, I bet I made more money on my first day than he did. Now that I'm of age, I know that one drink is $20, so that's certainly not true. But so my first real business was the cell phone store. It's called The Cell Phone Guy. And that was at 19 years old. And in my office, I had like a TV and a PlayStation, and a friend had come. His name was Danny Loveland. He's like, hey, let's go play Madden. And I was like, oh, I can't. He's like, why not? I was like, well, because I'm working. He's like, there's no one here. I was like, I know, but if I go and play a video game, I'm telling the universe I'm not serious. And if someone does come in, I won't be in the right state of mind to succeed. And I don't have the luxury of failing. Like every customer that comes in has got to walk out with something. And I was like, so even though there was no one here and there might not be anyone here for an hour, I've got to be up here and be ready. So I'm telling the universe I'm taking this serious.
Oh, brother, that is gold. Everybody, rewind it back, listen to that again. And really translate that into your own life. If you're messing around with things like video games, with social media, and you're supposed to be on in 2 minutes, that's going to be a really tough turnaround. Get yourself on, be ready to attack the day and to invite the people in who are supposed to be invited in, to be encouraging them and to magnetize them towards you and repel the wrong people. By focusing on this too much and being in the wrong state, being in the wrong place when you should be in the right place, you're going to be attracting the wrong people.
Absolutely. And a perfect example is us connecting here in this podcast because we hadn't met each other yet, and by doing the right things and building the right relationships, it created the opportunity for you and I to chat today. And I said it at the start of the episode, but the universe put us together. I really believe that. So, okay, so we've talked a lot about how you had your success going from 0 to 170 million. What was the biggest obstacle or the biggest struggle you faced in building an empire of that size?
I'll never forget. There was a year we had our biggest growth, and we grew 52% this one year.
Wow!
I mean, we were already doing a good amount of money, but a 52% increase is significant, especially because we're an inventory heavy business. We were out of so many SKUs, but even worse, there was a SKU that we had just launched, and it had done really well, like 1,000 times better, without exaggeration, than any other launch I had done. And so my next orders that I now placed going, oh my goodness, it's going to keep going this way. They were massive. So I made these huge commitments. We're talking millions of dollars in just the one SKU. And one of the reasons, well, actually the main reason that it did so well, bodybuilding.com, which is this unbelievably awesome website for buying sports nutrition. They did something with their algorithms or whatever to make that SKU go ballistic. And it went ballistic for many weeks on end. And then we sold out. And we were only out for about 4 weeks, but during those 4 weeks, they flicked the switch and they turned it off. So now I've got all these massive orders, millions of dollars of supplements coming in of just this one SKU. And now it's not selling almost at all. And that was the scariest, most painful thing. I want to say we were 8 years into business, and I had to stop taking a salary. And by the way,
wow.
My first 5 years of running Magnum, I didn't take a salary. I knew I had to leave the money in to keep collecting. I mean, I didn't start the business with $1 million. That would have been nice. So I had to leave that money in. I had to, we were eating craft dinner for many years in there.
Yeah.
But then now 3 years after finally taking a modest salary, I have to stop taking a salary again because I screwed up so bad. I didn't realize that was going to happen. So I had millions of dollars of one SKU that was still a new SKU that now wasn't selling almost at all. And so that was a horrifying experience. That taught me so much. It taught me a lot about integrity as well, because I was struggling to pay bills. So I was never a guy, and I never wanted to be a guy who's avoiding phone calls. I would take the phone calls. I would make the phone calls ahead of time. That's the other thing. And I'd call people and I'd say, hey, listen, I just want to be straight with you. Here's what I'm going through. I've never let you down. I've never missed a bill. I'd like just a bit more time to pay this. Will you be with me on this? Will you be my partner? And it was beautiful because you really see people rally around you, and you can see people go, you know what? You've been good to us. I respect that you made this phone call to me. You got ahead of it. I wasn't having to chase you. And so, yeah, we'll give you the extra time. That was a beautiful moment for me. There was so much that I learned through that, and the discomfort, man, when we are in that discomfort, we learn so much. It's during those challenging times that we grow. People forget that. We don't grow during the good times. Yeah, the good times are great and they're super fun to be in, but you have no growth during that time. It is always in the challenging times that you grow, and you grow a ton because you're like, I better learn some freaking lessons so this doesn't happen again.
Absolutely. There's a couple of things that you said there that were really important. I couldn't agree more about being transparent with your integrity in business, that when you let someone know what you're going through and you're proactive, I've never found in that situation someone to not be responsive to that, because they're so appreciative of that. And they also have most likely at some point had to make that same phone call or had that same conversation, right? Because that's the way that business works. The other thing that I think is so important that you said is you shared about eating ramen noodles and grilled cheese or whatever the struggle was. And I think the reason that I love that is because someone who was listening in the beginning and heard that you invested $250,000 in personal growth can at times check out because they're like, well, I have nothing in common with Markus. Like I could never do that, because they're seeing who you are today. Right. And sometimes when we see people and we think about who they are today, we lose the concept of who they were. And you have to understand that we all started at the same place. And so if you're that person right now eating ramen noodles, that means that if you do all the things that you know you need to do, you can also be at that pinnacle, right? We all have the capability of doing that. But no one started at that pinnacle. Like just like you said, you didn't start your business with $1 million. You started at zero. the same place that every other business starts. And I think it's so important because social media makes it so easy to only see people where they are and lose sight of where they've been.
No, you're absolutely right. And I want to encourage everybody who's still listening. My story is truly a story. If I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm telling you right now, I was not born, like, I'm not a genius. I'm not even born with like superior intellect. I had, in my opinion, almost no leg up. Yeah, I'm 6'6" and I got a pretty good set of eyes and hair on me. Yes, but it was just hard work. It was hard work and learning and growing and continually investing in myself, investing and learning and screwing up. And if I can do it, I promise you, you can do it.
I love that. So then we've talked a lot about where you came, but let's talk about what's in front of you. So you've got two big things that are happening: your book coming out March, April, Play a Bigger Game, and then also your new business in January. So start with whatever one of those you want to talk about.
Sure. Well, they're very much intertwined. So
okay.
Play a Bigger Game is also playabiggergame.com. And this is the business that I've been just led to. And I'm so excited about this. I love helping others on this path. And you might have already got that just by the way
very, very clear.
So playabiggergame.com is for anybody who wants to play a bigger game in life, who just knows inside, like, I'm meant for more in this world. I could be giving more. I should be doing more. This is the place for you. And one of the things I love to talk about is, if you guys don't know this, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You're the average. That's that you're learning their things. You're absorbing. You're working off of each other. And for a lot of high achievers or people who think big and who want to play a bigger game, if they're being honest, they're like, honestly, Markus, my 5 are probably taking the average down. I'm the only one lifting it up. Awesome. Why don't you come work with my 5? Let me surround you with a new 5 that'll help you think bigger, that will challenge you, that will keep you accountable. And that's really what playabiggergame.com is. It's this beautiful community. It's not open yet, by the way. It's going to launch in January. And I'm so psyched because I'm just so psyched to help people, watch people grow. We have so many beautiful things set up so that people's lives are going to improve quickly. And this community. So yeah, there's courses in there. There's calls, and the group calls are so beautiful. There's networking calls, there's coaching, there's mentoring, there's spending time with me. And it's just an opportunity for me to give back and to help people who are on that path through the people who I once was. And I just want to help you get to the place where I got to, which is, just so you know, we're not talking just about financial success. Financial success is a tiny piece of this journey. What I want to help people with is real fulfillment. Like, it's one thing to have money, but how's your relationships going? How's your health going these days? How's your relationship with your creator going these days? These are the things that create real fulfillment in life so that you can walk around with real joy. That's the stuff that excites me. And then the book is all of what we've been talking about. The book, Play Bigger Game, it's all the principles that I learned along the way to help me to get to where I am. And so hopefully you can take my 25 years, condense it into 4 or 5 years, and get the exact same success.
I love that, because I think what you said, I think most people understand that you are the reflection of your surroundings. But I think some people listening may be like, well, I don't have other surroundings, right? Like, this is it. Like, I don't have 5. I am the one, but I don't know any others. And so it sounds like you're creating a platform for them to be introduced and surrounded by the 5 that they're looking for.
Yes. And I surround myself with people like-minded with me. So, you're not going to all of a sudden get in there and be like, hey, where are the people like Markus? Everybody in here is a grump or like yelling at me and all this. No. I'm attracting only people like me. So if you come into this community, you're going to get a lot of people who are like, I'm here to serve. When we stop looking inwardly, like, what about me? What about me? What about me? And more of, what can I do? How can I serve others? How can I share my love with others? Oh my goodness, life gets so much better. And so I've got a whole bunch of people who are ready to do the exact same thing. And so all of a sudden people are coming into the group. I mean, we've got almost like beta testing right now with just inviting people in, and they're just surrounded by this love. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is really exciting. Like, I feel like strong enough to go out there and do the things I'm supposed to do. And I'm learning now all the things I'm supposed to do. And so it's a beautiful, wonderful win-win-win.
I love that. And I think that for people listening, and you might be like, oh, well, digitally, it's hard to have that kind of connection, or I want to actually be in person. My preference of a podcast is to have someone sitting across in the chair from me, but your energy is flowing through the screen in a way that it feels like you're sitting right across from me. So I think that if anyone is listening, I can attest that they're going to get almost like an in-person experience with you, because I can feel it. I can feel the energy radiating out of the screen.
Oh, I appreciate that so much, brother. And I mean, this is who I am 24/7, and this is who God has made me to be. And this is what I want to share with people. And I know that the people who spend time with me, I've got this beautiful gift, if I might say so myself, that I can brainwash anyone into thinking that they can conquer the world. So spend some time with me, and I promise you, you're going to be thinking bigger.
Well, it's amazing, because when you do surround yourself with those people who have those thoughts and beliefs, so Ed Milet, I got to see him speak for the first time in Utah. They did it's called Limitless, and it was the first time I'd ever seen him talk. And it was like, as soon as he started, you were just like drawn in, and it was like, wow, like this is amazing. And so anytime you can give yourself exposure to opportunities like that, you're never going to walk away with it worse than you walked in. That's for sure, at minimum, right? So now there's a couple of questions that I want to ask you. So the purpose of this podcast is, in my book, Winning the Moment, I didn't give any antidotes like do this, do that. It was more about like, here's why you should, because I wanted them to first understand why they should be doing it for themselves versus telling them how to do it. And so my hope and my aspiration is, with all of these different interviews, now we're going to have data points to say, if you loved Markus and you thought he was awesome, here's how he perceives it, right? And now you can follow his blueprint because you know why you're doing it first. And now here's a blueprint to follow. So in that vein, the first question I like to ask is, what's the biggest win you've ever had in your life?
Oh, wow. The biggest win. I don't think it actually is my win as much as I got to be part of it and experience it. I think my biggest win in my life was watching my brother come back to the Lord, and because of that and through that, he and I developed a relationship truly for the first time in our lives, and this is only less than 2 years ago. And so it's such a special moment. Some people know my brother, my story. My brother was 10 years older than me. We just lived very different lives.
Same brother that you had the smoothie business with?
Yeah. So at that point, he's 10 years older than me. I was 16, 17, and he's 26, 27. And he already has 2 kids at that time. And so we were on very different paths. And he only invited me in because they needed a front man for that business. And so there I was. So we had almost no relationship at all. And only in the last 2 years, he actually came to me. And this is such a beautiful, humble thing that he did. He said, bro, you've got a lot of great things going on in your life that I want to learn from. And so we started on this journey together. And through that, he found the Lord. And one of the most spectacular moments in my whole life, I got to baptize my brother and my 2 daughters on the same day.
Oh, wow. And
really special day.
So when you say your brother found the Lord, was there like a particular struggle that he was having, or was that just not a part of his life?
It just wasn't a part of his life. And it really is a part of mine. I mean, I don't ever try and I'm not trying to shove it down anyone's throat. My only calling is to love. But it's a key part of my life. So as he came to me, I mean, the first words out of my mouth are, listen, bro, I can talk to you about all this stuff. But if you don't have God, if you don't have a relationship with God, you're not going to be able to succeed at the level you want to succeed. And that's really my encouragement to others. It's not so much about like, hey, you've got to find Jesus, or it's not like that. But God offers us a level of peace and calm and comfort in our lives that you can't get anywhere else. And if the world weight is on your shoulders, it's impossible. I want to say it's impossible. You will find like 1 in a billion examples of somebody who can do it. I couldn't. How many people are breaking their backs thinking about one mortgage? Well, at one point at Magnum, I did a calculation that there were 100 mortgages that were on my shoulders. And I'm no superhero. I wasn't born with some super crazy wisdom or strength. If I didn't have God at that time, those 100 mortgages would have destroyed me. So I have that peace in me because I know that there's something bigger at play. And even if people want to go, oh, well, I'll accept to say it's the universe or whatever. You know what? I'll accept that because at least it's not on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Just know that there's something bigger going on in this world.
So when did you find that faith? Was that something you've always had, or was there a pivotal moment that created the opportunity for you to see the value in the faith that you have?
I appreciate the question. So God's always been calling me. I had moments growing up, but it was tough, broken family, no relationship with my father and stuff. And that, as you can hear, like that broke me for so many years. When I was in my early 20s, there was a special moment where I just said, you know what, God, I know what you want out of my life. And I've been doing it my way this whole time. And I've got nothing to show for it. And I'm unhappy and I'm sad. Like I'm really sad inside. So from this moment on, I'm giving it over to you. Like you take the reins. I know that's what you want. I invite you in and I only want to do it your way. That was absolutely the turning point of my whole life. Within 4 months, he introduced me to the most beautiful, amazing woman on the planet. And when we got married, within 4 months, he gave me my greatest business ever, like just handed me these things. And all along the way, he's just given me so much peace. He's brought the right people into my life at the right times. He's created the most amazing opportunities for me. And I would never have it any other way.
So I'm curious, what like daily role does faith play in your life? Like, how does it show up for you daily?
Oh, I appreciate the question. So in my morning routine, the very first thing I do as I get on the treadmill and I start exercising, I start in prayer. And specifically, I spend a lot of time in gratitude. And being in gratitude, you don't have to be a Christian for this one. You need to look into gratitude. Gratitude is the most life-changing, transforming thing you can do. Have more gratitude in your life. And I've got actually a post that'll be out by the time that this comes out. But I just heard recently a new way to frame gratitude. What if tomorrow morning you woke up with only the things that you were grateful for today? How would that change the way you treat things and think about things and are grateful for things? Would you not just walk around being like, I'm going to be grateful for
because then you'd be like, I'm grateful for my dog. Like you may not think you're grateful for your dog every day as you're in your journal, like the dog may not come up. But then if you didn't write your dog down, he disappeared. You'd be like, oh shit, I need to make sure I've got my dog in here, and all the other things.
Every single day, right? Like this isn't just like a one-time, I'm grateful for my dog, forget. No. You have to be every single day grateful for your dog, grateful for this beautiful place, grateful that I could pay this bill, grateful for the air in my lungs. It's a beautiful thought, but the truth is, this is actually how it works. When you stop being grateful for things, they do start disappearing. Look at any relationship you've ever been in.
Yeah, that's well said. That's even now my mind is racing like, oh no, I'm even grateful for like the Denver Nuggets. Like I don't want them to not be there anymore.
Right?
There's so many things that you would just, you don't even, you take for granted, I guess ultimately, right? There's so many things in life we take for granted because they just are always there. But when you stop appreciating them, they're not going to be there in the same capacity that they were before.
Right. That's right. And now by setting your mode like this and starting my day like this, being grateful for all the things, and tomorrow I know I'm going to have the same conversation. I'm walking through the world every day like, let me see all the things I'm grateful for. And it's the way I treat people too. Like, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for this conversation, Cody. Like, what an amazing experience to spend this time with you. I love this conversation. And I love that I'm going to get to reach a bunch of amazing people that I know are listening right now. I'm so grateful for that. So I get to walk through life that way and think of how the way I treat my children because of that, my wife because of that, my clients because of that. That's a beautiful way to start your day. But then there's one more beautiful thing I do during that prayer. I apologize for my sins. And now, again, if you're like, whoa, Markus, this is too far. Okay, how about just the things you wish you hadn't done? How about just the things that you're sorry for to yourself even? But for me, I'm apologizing to God. Like, hey, here's all the things I did wrong. I don't want to have that same conversation tomorrow. That's embarrassing to me to be like,
that's a good,
same list as yesterday. And I have to list them. I have to go through it and list them. So what else happens to me is that now I've set my mind for the whole day to go, hey, don't do those things, bro. I don't want to have that same conversation tomorrow morning. So now not only am I going through the day going, I don't want to do these negatives, but I'm going, I'm so grateful for all these great things. What a beautiful path it sets you on for the whole day. And staying off of social media, staying off of my email, staying off of those things in the first thing in the morning. How many of us, that's the first thing we do? And shocker, we're in a bad mood right from the get-go. Oh my goodness, these people all look like they're having great lives and this, I'm not doing that well. I can't afford this and stuff. That puts us in a bad place to start the day.
I really love that, listing your sins. That's a great way to gamify something, because then if you're perpetually doing this thing, eventually you're going to be like, God, I don't want to do that again, you know? And so you're just creating that gamification, which I think is brilliant, and such a cool way to look at faith in that capacity. The other thing I think is that anyone that you meet that's doing anything worthwhile, you'd be hard pressed to have them not share that gratitude is a piece of that journey. And that, again, doesn't have to be religious, but you're always going to find, like, any meditation practice, anything that someone is doing, they're always sharing how important gratitude is. And I know that when I practice it in my journaling, it always makes me feel better and creates that awareness of appreciation that is so easy to miss if you don't take the moment to just jot it down or think about it.
Yes. So well said, brother. Hey, I'd like to say one last thing about faith, by the way. If you run into people who talk about being people of faith or whatever, I just want you guys to know my only job is to love. That's what I'm called to do. That's what the Bible tells me to do. That's it. If you ever have people with judgment and they're judging people and they're coming off pressing and pushing and this stuff, they got it wrong. Humans get it wrong. And I'm not even judging them for doing it. I have so much mercy for that because I'm not free of sin. I am a sinful man, but I'll tell you, the only thing I'm supposed to be doing is loving. And so I hope that if you ever get to spend some time with me, if you come join me on my journey, I hope that's the only thing you'll ever feel out of me, because that's all I'm supposed to be doing.
I love that. Okay, so now the opposite of that, and again, you have the freedom to answer this in whatever capacity you deem appropriate, but what's your biggest loss?
Oof, my biggest loss. I think my biggest loss is the 20 to 30 years that I spent in sadness and regret and not forgiving. So, wow, this is actually coming beautifully full circle here. We've created a beautiful narrative together, brother. I forgave my father fully in the last few years, and not just forgave him. I'm so grateful for the role that my father played in my life. Yeah, he wasn't there. Yeah, I didn't have a good relationship with him. He played it perfectly because I'm the man who I know I'm supposed to be right now. And I had to have the experiences that I had to become this man. And not forgiving someone, I love this quote. It's like drinking poison and hoping they die. And that's what we do when we're not forgiving people. And I mean, really in here, forgiving them, not like, okay, I forgive you. Let's move on. No, like, I'm so grateful for my father. And I'm sad that I didn't learn this lesson earlier in life, because I know I'd be much further ahead. But that's okay. I don't feel guilty about that. I am who I am today for the reasons that I've learned what I needed to learn in my timing, I suppose. But I lost a lot of good years, and I lost a lot of good years that I could have had with my father too. He's still with me. And now we're intentionally spending more time together. And I'm very grateful for that. But we missed out on a lot of years, and I blame myself for that.
Are you familiar with Vishen Lakhani? Do you know who that is?
Yes.
So he's got 3 books, really good. Buddha and the Badass, the Power of the Extraordinary Mind, and the 6-Phase Meditation. In the 6-Phase Meditation, it goes through like a lot of things that you talked about. So there's a gratitude, there's a forgiveness piece where you visualize yourself forgiving someone. And so anyway, just as you're sharing that, it was like, wow, that's like his 6-Phase Meditation is hitting on so many things that Markus is saying is important. The other interesting thing, talking about full circle and a great dialogue, is that almost everyone who shares their biggest loss always has a caveat of, but because of that, now I'm this, right? And so I think for the people listening, and they're probably getting tired of me saying it, but I'm going to keep doing it. If you're in that moment of loss or struggle right now, know that at some point with enough of a runway, you'll look back and be appreciative of this thing you're going through because it allowed you to get where you are. And I think when you can look at your struggles or your failures in that way, and really, to use Marcus's word of faith, have the faith that it's going to serve a purpose, it makes it a lot, you're kind of taking that weight off your shoulders.
Oh, brother. Well said. Well said. I'd love to add on to that. One of the things that I've really been working on over the last few years is recognizing now when a challenge is in front of me, instead of us going, oh no, a challenge. Oh no, this is bad. Something's bad's going to have, why me and all this. This is the time, like you said, we're going to appreciate this challenge at some point in our lives. So why not appreciate it right now? So when a challenge is in front of me, I'm like, awesome. This is my chance to level up. Like we talked about before, you only grow when you're being challenged, not in the good times. So when a challenge is presented in front of me, I'm like, this is amazing. I'm about to grow again. I'm going to be able to handle bigger challenges. I can handle bigger things in life. Think of how different your life would be if you looked at challenges positively. And this isn't just like positive thinking, like irrational positive thinking. This is like, no, legit. I'm psyched about this challenge because I know I'm about to be a greater person, a better person, a bigger person, a smarter person who can handle more in my life.
I love that. It's funny. People listening might think that we like prepared this conversation because it's so serendipitous, but chapter 7 of my book is obstacles or opportunity. So that's pretty fun. I used to always tell my sales team, like they'd say, how can I become better at sales? I said, be uncomfortable every day. If you come to work for 8 hours and there was never a time in a sales interaction you were uncomfortable, then you didn't grow. And if every single day you were uncomfortable, then what you can achieve will blow your mind.
I love that.
Okay, so I want to be really cognizant of your time, Marcus. We got 3 minutes, but I have 3 other questions. Are you okay?
Let's go, bro. Let's go.
So then the next question is, did you have a mentor in your life who was impactful to your success? And if so, can you share something about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I struggled for many years. Like I wasn't open to mentors early on. Tony Robbins changed my life. I was about 15 years old, I'd say, when I came across his first cassettes from my brother. He'd left them, I guess, in the garage. And Tony put me on a path at that early age, just recognizing certain things. And it was like, oh my goodness. And he became a father figure to me at an early age. And if you guys don't know Tony Robbins, he's a big dude. He speaks with such a manly Tony voice. And it's like, yes, that's the man I need to like direct me. And so ever since, I've seen him as a mentor, and now, praise God, I get to actually spend time with Tony Robbins in his platinum group. And it's just kept me moving forward and thinking bigger. That's one of the greatest things about spending time with guys like Tony or places like playbiggergame.com. It just helps you think bigger. It helps you recognize, man, I'm playing a small game and I shouldn't be. I could be thinking much bigger. And the bigger you think, the greater you will experience life.
Oh, absolutely. How is that for you to go from having like an aspiration, listening to these tapes as a 15-year-old, to having an actual relationship with the person whose like direction helped mold and shape your life? What was that like for you?
It's pretty wild, isn't it? This is, again, going back to like thinking bigger. Who could imagine that? Who could imagine that at 15? Who can imagine that today? I mean, we put up...
Yeah, you wouldn't have believed it if someone told you.
No chance. No chance. I mean, we put stars and we put celebrities up on these pedestals and we're like, oh, I could never. But what you soon realize is these are just human beings as well. And if you approach them like, hey, I have love to give you and I could serve you in some way. And, I'm going to listen to the advice you're giving me. I'm going to put it into practice. And I would love to be showcased as a guy who did what you said to do. And that's honestly what I started doing at 15. I went, you know what if I listened to all this stuff and I actually did it all? Because I was already recognizing at that young age. I think a lot of people listen to this, but don't do much with it. But I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be like, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it all the way. And life turned out pretty awesome because I kept doing those things that I said I would do.
Well, that's the underlying theme of this episode, right? Is that you started.
Yeah.
Okay, so then next question, most impactful book you've read and why?
Ooh, man, there's a few. Can I give a couple of
Oh,
answers?
please. Yeah, of course. The more information, the better.
Okay, I'm not going to say these three are in any specific order, but Atomic Habits by James Clear. Atomic Habits is so spectacular. Clearly, the people who are listening to this podcast, they have a growth mindset. You are instilling in them such beautiful principles. Atomic Habits will help you create the habits that will make you more successful. Like we talked about, 1+1 will equal 2. You have to get these habits going. You have to take action on them, and this will be inevitable. Number 2, The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. The Obstacle is the Way. It's a really light, short read, and it's exactly what we've been talking about, which is what I'm facing right now, this challenge, this roadblock, this obstacle, if you will. What if it wasn't an actual obstacle? What if it wasn't a problem? What if it was actually the way that you're going to get ahead? So I could have said when I was young, oh man, I'm too poor. I don't have a dad. I don't have a mentor. I don't have a father figure. Therefore, I can't win. In fact, I said that for many years. And guess what? I didn't win. And I didn't want any of the pity. You can keep all that pity until I changed that. And I went, hold on. What if it's because of those things that I could succeed? And that's exactly what happened. One of the reasons I succeed is I bond really well with other people who have daddy issues. There's a lot of people out there with daddy issues. I argue everybody has daddy issues.
Yeah.
And I'm so open about it. And because of that, people are like, oh, well, I'm not willing to talk about my daddy issues, but I love that you're willing to talk about yours. And you got over them. That's amazing. I want to hang out with you. That's huge. So it wasn't an obstacle. It was actually the way. That was the way to success. So I love that one. And then the final one is Good to Great by Jim Collins. Good to Great is such a spectacular book. And even if you read it, if you haven't read it recently, you read it again. It talks about how to take good and turn it to great, and why a whole bunch of these companies became great companies. There are so many principles, and this is not just for entrepreneurs. It is if you have a job, this is how you're going to be great at it. And you can take these nuggets, you can take these principles, put them to work, and they will absolutely change your life.
Well, yeah, the concepts of the flywheel and Good to Great are really my idea behind the bracelets. It's about stopping that negative momentum wheel and starting your own and giving yourself momentum to succeed. Really, that's part of the premise and the framework of it.
Yes.
Okay, so Markus, shameless plug for me. If those are the books you love, I really believe you're going to love Winning the Moment. So I'm going to ask you to read my book and then let me know what you think after you do.
I will absolutely do that. I'm going to review it. I'm going to order it on Amazon today. I will review it. And I'm psyched because clearly I like spending time with you. We've got the same focus. We got the same mindset. We were brought together for a purpose. So I'm looking forward to reading your book, brother. Thank you. And I hope you will read mine as well.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
I know it's going to make an impact for you.
I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so the last and final question, and to me, I deem this one to be the most important, but how do you define success?
I think I define success as real fulfillment in your soul. Real joy, real fulfillment in your soul. That's success to me. Other things are fleeting success, moments of success. Finances is not success. Things that you have is not success. Success to me is, I can't wait to go home to my wife. I love my freaking wife. My wife is amazing. I love my children. I have a great relationship with my 2 girls. I can't wait to spend the day with them. They got dressed up for Halloween. I can't wait to see them again in their costumes. How did it go? Yeah, I think success is waking up and going to sleep every night, knowing that great things have happened. You played the correct role that you were supposed to play on this planet.
I love that. Thank you for that. And the reason that I asked that question is because I've had the privilege of being able to speak in a bunch of college classrooms. And oftentimes the question is, how do you become successful? And I realized there's such a flaw in that question because none of them asked me what I thought success was, or nor did they define it for themselves. So I really can't give anyone direction on how to find success unless they've already determined it. And we're so fortunate that we don't have to follow society's definition of success, because I think if we did, it would be very opposite to the answer that you just gave. And so then you could, with all of these things you have, feel unsuccessful because that certainly wasn't society's definition. And so I want everyone listening, especially as you're starting out your journey in life, I think first and foremost, to find that for yourself so you're only working towards your purpose and not someone else's.
I love that. So well said. And by the way, I totally agree. We all know people. We all know people who look like they're successful, but are so empty inside, so sad. That's not success. That's the furthest thing from success. That nobody wants to be like that. And I mean, no offense, I have mercy for those people because they were just chasing the wrong dream. They were chasing the wrong idea of what success is. So my last encouragement to everybody, keep working on yourself. Work on this, share love, look to serve others. Come join me at playbiggergame.com. Come hang out with me. I'd love to pour into you. I'd love to serve you. And man, I'm so grateful for this time with you, Cody, with your audience. I have so much love for you guys. Thank you for being here. Connect with me also on social media, please. Let's hang out.
Okay. Well, thank you, Markus, so much for being here. I'll put the website, your social media, all of your links in the show notes. If you're watching or listening, you can go click on that, connect with Markus. And I just really appreciate your time. This was incredible. Thank you so much.
Brother, I had an amazing time. Thank you.